Thank you for recording. Okay, before we start, please change the display name according to the message that I have sent previously. So you can use your room room code and then your code of paper and then your name. As separated using underscore. Okay. Before we begin, I want to inform you that for the share screen or video, it should be prepared by the presenters. So please prepare your devices before we start. And then that means we will not share our screen of your presentation. So please be prepared with your PowerPoint presentation or PDF and so on. Okay, before we begin, I will inform you about the timing. You will have 10 minutes for presenting your result. And then after 8 minutes, I will inform you that you will have 2 minutes left. So please be prepared to only use the 10 minutes without more time for your presentation. And then we will have Q&A session after the presentation for each presenter. Okay, and then please create a good atmosphere of discussion. So please do not unmute your mic if you are not presenting. And then if you want to give a question after the presentation, you can raise your hand using the gesture in the Zoom. So I think that's all for the preparation. Now we will proceed to the first presenter. The first presenter is Farisa Fikri Mumtaza with title Utilizing TOGAF 10 to Design Enterprise Architecture for BPRB Co. SME Digital Transformation. Okay, you can start your presentation now.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is my screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great honor to present at ICADIS 2025. My name is Farisa Fikri Mumtaza, and today I will share our research titled Utilizing TOGAF 10 to Design an Enterprise Architecture for BPRB Co. SME Digital Transformation. This study explore how SME bank like BPRB Co. can implement digital transformation using TOGAF 10 while addressing regulatory and resource constraints. Let's begin. Okay. For the structure for this presentation, I will cover the following section. First, introduction, related study and contribution, research method, and research result. Okay, let's start with introduction. So, digital transformation is essential for SME, especially for Bank Perekonomian Rakyat or BPR, to enhance efficiency and comply with financial regulation such as PJOK number 75 and SOJK number 15. Despite SME contributing 61.07% of Indonesia GDP, they often face challenges in adapting digital transformation due to limited resources and regulatory constraints. BPRB Co., which is classified as a level 2 BPR, required structured approach to align IT investment with business need. So the study applied TOGAF 10 to design an enterprise architecture that helped BPRB Co. transition toward digital banking while meeting the compliance requirement. So now look at existing studies and how our research contribute to the field. Okay, several studies have examined enterprise architecture for digital transformation, but most focus on the large commercial bank or BPR with the electronic banking capability. So here are a few key findings. So the first is research on the large bank found that IT governance structure impact digital transformation by improving the strategic alignment. And a study on the educational institution used TOGAF 9.2 to develop enterprise architecture framework for IT governance. A previous study on the level 3 BPR successfully designed enterprise architecture blueprint with mobile banking readiness to support digital transformation. So our contribution is, however, our study filled an important gap by providing a customized TOGAF 10 framework for a level 2 BPR that is not allowed to implement electronic banking. Unlike the larger institution, BPR BICO must navigate the digital transformation under tighter regulation and resource constraint. We show how TOGAF 10 can be adapted to a small-scale financial institution. This approach ensures that compliance while enabling step-by-step digital transformation. So for the research method, we follow design science research approach with five structure steps. First is the problem explication. We identify regulatory constraints and IT limitation in BPR BICO. And second, requirement specification. We collected that primary data through a semi-structured interview and secondary data using the document triangulation. And we also prioritize artifact based on weight scoring system, incorporating regulatory requirement and insight from 10 prior studies. And on the design and development, we design non-prioritized artifact to guide BPR BICO transformation. And the demonstration, we create a strategic enterprise architecture blueprint using TOGAF 10. And the last is the evaluation. We validate our result using credibility, transformability, dependability, and conformability criteria. So for the result, there is a principle catalog. So the principle catalog outline key architecture principle that guide BPR BICO digital transformation. The four key area are business architecture, data architecture, application architecture, and technology architecture. So basically the business architecture ensure the alignment between the business and IT, compliance with the OJK regulation, and cost-effective investment. In the data architecture, establish data security, accessibility, and validation as key priorities. And the application architecture ensure applications are scalable, user-friendly, and interconnected for seamless banking operation. And the last, for technology architecture, focus on simple configuration and meet the industry standard to ensure reliability and security. This principle form the foundation of our enterprise architecture framework. So let's move on to the solution concept diagram. This diagram illustrates how saving and loan application are integrated into BPR BICO digital banking infrastructure. Saving account opening is managed through the application form, where marketing officer handle the registration, verification, and activation via the core banking system. And loan application are managed through the loan system, allowing the credit officer to verify, process, and approve loan efficiently. And this system are connected through the secure infrastructure using the Linux, Java, and also the MySQL. We focus on the saving and lending because they are the core business process of the banking. Optimizing this fundamental area make digital transformation more accessible to other small banks facing the similar constraint. Okay, next for the IT roadmap. So the IT roadmap prioritize system implementation based on cost-benefit analysis and IT investment visibility using the business value assessment method. So first, the loan application system is prioritized first because it's provide higher return on investment, and also it's improve loan approval speed, which directly impact to the BPR BICO revenue. And the saving account digitalization follow after because while essential, has a lower immediate financial impact compared to the loan processing. This prioritization ensure that BPR BPO can achieve maximum financial and operational benefit from the digital transformation. So, in summary, this research provide a practical and scalable TOGAF 10 based on framework for SME bank facing the regulatory and resource constraint. So there is three key takeaway. First, a PACE enterprise architecture approach ensure that alignment with business and regulatory needs and prioritizing saving and lending provide immediate impact for SME bank. TOGAF 10 offer a flexible and structured solution for a small-scale financial institution. The study contribute both theoretically and practically to the field of enterprise architecture and also the digital transformation. Okay, that's conclude my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to your question.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Farisa, for the wonderful presentation. Now we are in the Q&A session for Ms. Farisa presentation. So anyone wants to give a question, please raise your hand. Okay, Ms. Inka, you can unmute and talk to us about your question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Iqbal Fadil, for the opportunity, and thank you for the wonderful presentation, Mrs. Farisa. My name is Inka Shartos Badama, and I will be asking you because I'm curious, why did you choose TOGAF 10 over other enterprise architecture frameworks? That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Farisa, you can give an answer, and thank you for Ms. Inka for the question.
Okay. We choose TOGAF 10 over the enterprise architecture framework because of its modular and adaptable approach, which is crucial for financial institution operating in a highly regulated and dynamic environment. If we compare TOGAF 10 with other well-known enterprise architecture framework, such as Zahman or FIAF, Zahman provides structure but lack of implementation guidelines. But FIAF is too rigid for small-scale banking environment. So TOGAF 10 is the best fit for BPR BICO because it is flexible, iterative, and prioritization driven, allowing the bank to align its IT investment with business objective in a structured yet adaptable manner. It is.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Ms. Farisa. Ms. Inka, do you have any further question?
Enough. Thank you. Is all good.
Okay, thank you. So we have two slot for question, and then the last question is from Ms. Danis. You can give a question.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. My name is Denis Sasna Ayudhya, and I have a question. So I want to know what were the biggest challenges or obstacles you encountered during your research? And that is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Danis. Ms. Farisa, you can answer.
Okay, thank you for the question. So during the research, the main challenges were regulatory constraints, restriction, and the data collection issue. Since the BPR BICO is a level 2 BPR, it cannot implement electronic banking under the POJK number 12. So we had to focus on the internal process improvement rather than customer-facing digital service. And the data collection was also difficult because many documents were incomplete, requiring interview with key personnel and carefully triangulation of multiple sources. That's it.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Ms. Farisa. Ms. Danis, do you have any further question?
No, that's enough, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can conclude for Ms. Farisa's presentation and Q&A session. Thank you so much for your presentation and answers. And then we will move on to the next presenter, Ms. Fahide, with prioritization of data governance frameworks using fuzzy MCDM approach a case study. You can share your screen and start your presentation now.
Hello everyone and good afternoon. My name is Fahide Mujtahid. I am the Director of IT Auditing Department at a bank. Our lecture is about prioritization of data governance and frameworks using a fuzzy MCDM approach, a case study. The content of the list of the content has 4 parts: introduction, background, methodology, result, and conclusion. Introduction. As organizational data grows and the need for effective data governance becomes so essential, especially for the banks, which constantly deal with a large amount of financial data transactions and also the customer information. So different frameworks exist for implementing data and governance in the but actually selecting the most appropriate one, it requires a careful attention to the organizational criteria. So we use a quantitative approach to select the optimal framework based on various criteria. This paper aims to present a quantitative approach based on a fuzzy multi-criteria in decision-making, FMCDM, to prioritize data governance framework for implementing at Salman Bank. And we have used FAHP, a fuzzy analytical hierarchy process. But why have chosen Salman Bank? As IT auditors in the bank, we have identified several areas that lack data and governance, and has caused a significant challenges, leading us to conduct this study. First of all, for the BI, business intelligence, we have a variety of access to the data warehouse, outsourcing and third party. Since we have some outsourcing, so they should also have the right information to the data. Affiliated financial groups, we have actually 12 or 13 affiliated financial groups. So we have scattered in data, and it is very important for us to have a data and governance. And also employee management, since we are a bank and we have employees that they move from the headquarters to the branches, so they also have various access to the data and things. Okay, for the background, there are many different data governance and frameworks, but we have chosen the 4 famous one: DGI, Data Governance Institute framework; DAMA DMBOK, the DAMA International Data Management Body of Knowledge; COVID Control Objective for Information and Related Technologies; and Eckerson. Here we have used FAHP. Actually, is a fuzzy extension of a classic AHP, which is traditionally used to prioritize data for making complex decisions. Unlike the classic AHP, which relies on crisp numerical, FAHP, it is to handle for uncertainty in judgment. And our methodology, we have the objectives, criteria, and alternatives that are the frameworks that we have chosen, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Our objective is prioritization of data governance framework at Zaman Bank. The criteria that we have chosen is the coverage, cost, and security, and also the alternatives are the frameworks DGI, DAMA-DM, BUCK, COBIT, and Eckerson. Here we have the Buckley's FAHP. In these steps, we have the first part is in creating the hierarchy diagram, constructing fuzzy pervades in comparison matrices and completing matrices based on decision maker judgment, calculating the consistency ratio, and also calculating weight and rate and ranking. And here I am the decision maker because I have 12 years of experience in IT governance at Zaman Bank. Results and conclusion. As we all know, we have the triangular and fuzzy number scale, which is shown in this slide. And also here we have the pair-based comparison in matrix with respect to the objectives. And it's actually a reciprocal matrix. In this slide, we will calculate the CR. The fuzzy pair-based comparison matrix are first devised using the center of area, and then the CR is calculated using lambda. So in as we have actually done all the calculation with the Excel, but there are also some softwares that they can ease the calculation. So I can also show you the okay, maybe next I will move. And then here we have calculated the weights. As you can see, we have chosen the coverage, cost, and security. And we have get the JOMI, and also we have the WI, and this is also calculated in the Excel as well. Okay. Then we have the fuzzy pair-based in comparison matrix of the alternative with respect to the coverage criterion. And this calculation is done for the cost and also for the security as well. This is for the cost and for the security. And okay, as a result, the calculating the final weight of each alternative is calculated by multiplying the criterion weight of a matrix of alternative weight with respect to the criteria. And as we can see, the rank number 1 is for DAMA-DM BUCK, and then have DGI, Eckerson, and COBIT. Okay, our future work, several important aspects should be addressed in the future in research. The first of all is the maturity assessment of the research and finding through a practical implementation of data governance and framework in Zaman Bank. Evaluating and comparing other existing data governance and frameworks. Prioritization of frameworks based on more diverse criteria, and using other FMCDM methods for ranking purposes. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the wonderful presentation, Ms. Fahide. We are moving on to the Q&A session. So anyone who wants to give a question, please raise your hand. Okay, so I think I will give you a question about your research. I wonder about the future work that you will do, that you mentioned that it will use another method, right? Can you explain more about what are methods that can be used in the next research?
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned in before, for the future works, we can use the more data governance in framework and also using more criteria. Because right now I have chosen 3 criteria, which I think is the most important for the bank. It's cost. It's about the security, as we are a bank, so the data of the customers is so important for us, and also cost coverage and also the security. As I mentioned, we have different affiliated groups, so we have a large coverage. Maybe can extend our criteria so we can mention more and see what will go on.
So you will use more criteria and more.
Yes.
Okay. Any framework that you will use for the next one? Because previously you have 4 frameworks, right?
Pardon, could you please repeat your question?
Do you have any future plan that you will use another framework? Previously you use COVID and so on and so on. And do you have?
Yes, yes. Actually, I have checked other frameworks as well. Because, for example, in the COVID, it's about the IT governance, but also they have some parts, some, in processes that they also mention about the data and governance. But actually, the most suitable one, it was about the 4 that we have chosen. So I think maybe we can have a look probably for a COVID and also for ISO or IPPF. There are different kind of standards as we know. Maybe if we have more time, we can also do some more research and investigation to see what is useful, especially for banks.
I see. Okay. Okay, thank you so much for your.
Thank you very much for you, and have a wonderful day.
Okay, anyone who wants to give a question? We still have one more slot for question. Okay, because no one give a raise hand, so we can conclude that Ms. Fahide presentation is enough with the Q&A session. Thank you so much for
Very
your.
much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks. So we will move on to the next presenter, Mr. Muhammad Ilham Al-Hari, with the Enterprise Architecture Framework in Smart Village, a systematic literature review. You can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Iqbal. I want to present. Ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, all participants ISADES. I want to presentation about my dissertation, part of dissertation research in doctoral program in Institute Teknologi 10 November. With my research is the title Enterprise Architecture Framework in Smart Village, Systematic Literature Review. And the first author Muhammad Ilham Al-Hari, second author Professor Erma Suryani, and the last author Reni Nadlifati. Okay, I want to share content list, one introduction, methodology, result, and conclusion. On the first introduction, the implementation of the enterprise architecture or EA in the organization serves as with the strategic approach and improvement guide, especially in the development of smart village or e-government village. The concept of the smart village is built of the sustainable use in the information technology, and then smart villages are defined as the development of the independent and autonomous village in the providing service to the community village civil. Okay, and the next is my research activity of complex studies on enterprise architecture or EA implementation have been published expertise and application across different domains. This literature review aims to conduct a SLR to analyze the test study and to more than novelty, especially focus on the design and implementation of the government in the smart village level. And the SLR method used to deploy identification and analyze and understanding existing research related to the particular topic atau many literature review study have highlight EA implementation, non have especially because about smart village government. Okay, next is methodology, start, identification, net form the review, especially research question 1 and research question 2, searching strategy, study selection criteria in the research question and the paper, manually selection, conduct of the review, extraction and synthesis, and create report. Okay, this is figure 2, identification research question using first viewers about the visuality to achieve the research objective. Mentioned in the introduction, the following are research question to have been formulated. RK1, research question 1. What are the enterprise architecture framework implemented in the smart village? And research question 2, what are the dimension of focus used in the implementation of enterprise architecture framework in the smart village government? Okay, for comprehensive scientific database in the literature review research, this platform include academic sources, Google Scholar, Semantic Scholar, Scopus, OpenAlex, and IEEE, which collectively provide with coverage of relevant research publication in the various fields. Keyword used for the literature search, 1, enterprise architecture, or TOGAF, or ZAFMAN, or DUDAF, or VF, and smart village. The expansion for the keyword is that our operator identifies synonyms for the main system related to enterprise architecture framework, and then smart village with the N operator combined to the search keyword. Inclusion and exclusion, I have two inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. And the first inclusion criteria, research paper in published English or Indonesian language between 19 and 24. Research papers should be published in academic journal or present at conference. Studies that utilize or suggest EA framework in the context of the smart village application for the implementation e-government. Exclude criteria, study that not implement or suggest EA in their discussions, study that did not implementation or propose EA in their discussion. The type of research paper is review or survey article. Okay, this is a result published of with tools published of Paris database, Google Scholar, Semantic Scholar, Scopus, and OpenAlex. We have manual selection result 35 journal article. And then framework is domination framework for the developing smart village architecture. First, TOGAF, second, ZAFMAN, and third, IKEA. And then have focus dimension, e-government, economy, environment, smart living, tourism, education, and healthcare. Okay, and the last conclusion, based on the analysis conduct, there are several important findings related to the implementation of enterprise architecture or EI in the smart village sector, like TOGAF, ZAFMAN, IGA, and Indonesia Government Enterprise Architecture. Indicator prefer for the more globality recognized framework such TOGAF. Overall, of the implementation of AI in smart village is currently more focused in the development of e-government dimension with great potential for the other sector. It is hope that with greater emphasis and dimension, smart village can develop holistically and provide broader benefit to the rural community to deploy in the e-government smart village level. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your Ilham. for your presentation or a wonderful presentation. So, if anyone wants to give Mr. Ilham a question, please raise your hand. Okay, let me ask you a question about your research. So, you are doing systematic literature review, right? And I wonder about the resource of papers that you are looking for. Uh, Previously, you got 2000, around 2000, yeah, in the first search. Uh, how much search engines that you used in the first search result?
Okay, how much to the
What
search
engine?
engine? We found 1,506 initial article result in the more than database like Google Scholar, Semantic Scholar, Scopus, and OpenAlex. Uh, we we next the filter result is one 194 article filter result.
Then the final one is 25, yeah.
Final one, and I can to manual selection result is 35 article.
I wonder about why did you choose those search engines? I mean, why did you use Google Scholar? Do you have any specific reason why?
Okay, because it's the topic enterprise architecture to deploy the smart village is more popular, like in the database IEEE and Google Scholar. It's more than to developing to a government and service government in the Indonesian village other country.
Okay. Previously, I saw that you take either English or Indonesian papers, yeah.
Oh, English language, and we have to criteria in the inclusion and exclusion criteria. In the inclusion criteria, it's study that such as AI framework in the context of smart village using English and published in academic journal of present of the at the conference and journal Scopus Index, Mr. Iqbal.
Okay, so it must be indexed on Scopus, yeah.
Okay, yes, right.
Okay, thank you for your answer. So it means the search engine was chosen due to the how much it has the result, yeah, about the topic.
Maybe I want to deploy is new framework for enterprise architecture, especially in the smart village, like the not using TOGAF, but new framework in the my topic research. I hope to this new framework is can to alignment and alignment with regulation in Indonesian country and potential in the smart village.
I see. So you have a future plan of using another framework, yeah.
Yes, as is maybe is this is a novelty to my research to deploy the new framework for the smart village concept like this.
Yeah, hopefully your next research result can be published in the near future, maybe.
Yes, I hope that's. Thank you to Mr. Iqbal for your support.
Okay,
Okay.
there's no one who wants to give a question. I think that's all for Mr. Ilham presentation and Q&A session. Thank you so much for your presentation and Q&A. Okay, it was an interesting topic ya to create a literature review.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Iqbal.
Okay, thank you. So the next presenter will be Ms. Satya with House of Free Space. One, a tool for identifying and prioritizing software development risk agents. You can start the presentation now.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Oh, okay. I will start. Hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Tia Suatun Hasana, and I am honored to present my research on House of Free Space 1, a tool for identifying and prioritization software development risk agent. This work is collaborative effort with my advisor, Professor Paulus Insap Santoso and Professor Ridi Ferdiana. The content to be presented introduction, focus on the research framework, methodology, result, and the last conclusion. We will start with introduction. Risk management is critical in the software development lifecycle to identify, evaluate, and mitigate risk threatening project objectives. Research statistics show 75% of business and IT executives in 2023 anticipate project failure. Common challenges include poorly defined requirement, inadequate communication, and lack of standardization process. A systematic approach is necessary to effectively prioritize and manage risk. Focus on the research are utilize House of Free Space 1 to identify and prioritize key risk agent in software development, calculate aggregate risk potential to determine the most critical resource. Methodology research framework. Research framework start with 1. Data collection using expert interview. 2. Analysis interview data result. 3. Calculation using House of Risk method. 4. Calculation. And the methodology, House of Risk Space 1 implementation step start with 1. Mapping software development activity. Activity are mapped according to the software development lifecycle, which include phases of planning, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. It is meant to identify potential risk event through interview. 2. Identify risk event. Identify risk event is given a severity rating indicating the potential impact that the risk event may have on the software development process. The severity scale ranks from 1 to 5, where a score of 5 significant exceptionally severe impact. 3. Identifying risk agent. The subsequent step involve identifying risk agent and evaluating the probability of each agent occurrence. This likelihood is rated on a scale from 1 to 5 with a score of 5 indicating a high probability of occurrence. 4. Measuring correlation between risk event and risk agent. The correlation scale ranks from 0 to 9, with 0 indicating no correlation, 1 indicating a weak correlation, 3 representing a moderate correlation, and 9 indicating a strong correlation. 5. Calculate aggregate risk potential with formula occurrence multiplied by the sum of severity multiplied by relationship between risk event and risk agent. 6. Prioritizing risk agent, the one with the highest IRP value will be prioritized. Result in the study, we conduct interview with 4 experts from diverse fields, include IT company, healthcare, and government sector with professional experience range from 9 to 70 years. The interview result in identifying 30 risk event and 29 risk agent. There are several risk event whose level is high, including unrealistic schedule and budget, lack of communication with all stakeholders, overlay complex design challenging for developer, incomplete and under-delivered tasks by sprint deadline, insufficient resource, platform discrepancy between deployment and production environment, automatic update for new software version.
There are several risk agents whose level is high, including planning and task rotation not synchronous. User does not provide detailed business process documentation and lab application document. Product owner does not fully understand the technical complexity for developer. Lack of mock-up, insufficient knowledge of impact from new software, and the last numerous software under maintenance. And this is the result of the calculation using the host of risk method S1 with the data above. I hope you can see it. Top risk agent A2 planning task prioritization not synchronous with aggregate risk potential score of 1,344 and A24 insufficient knowledge of impact from new software with aggregate risk potential score of 844. Practical implication for the research for project manager provide a guide for resource allocation for developer, promote early detection and mitigation of potential issue. In the research, I have limitation. One is selection bias, limited representation from diverse industry and organizational scale. Generalizability, funding may not apply to all software project due to the variation in team size, culture, and or practice. Subjectivity with IRP calculation relies on expert judgment for severity and occurrence wide may introduce bias. The conclusion, Herpes 1 effectively identify and prioritize risk in the software development life cycle, highlight the importance of data-driven prioritization for target mitigation. For future work, I hope I can integrate for host of risk phase 2 focused on refining mitigation strategy by building on the priority identified in phase 1, considering factors such as resource availability, implementation complexity, and mitigation effectiveness. Thank you once again for this opportunity to share our research with you. I hope you found the session insightful. I would now like to hand the session back to our moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tia, for your wonderful presentation. So, if anyone wants to give a question to Mr. Tia, you can raise your hand. Okay, I wonder about the difficulty in your research. Can you share with us about the difficulty during your research with the host of risk phase 1?
The difficulty is I must to using primary data, so I must to search expert who want to share the experience with us. That is the difficulty.
So the difficulty about the data.
Yes, for the method, this is a method. Basically is using in supply chains to search root cause of the risk in previous research in mitigation software development is not search a root cause of the risk, just risk event and the strategy mitigation. And no, I no data about risk agent, so I must to search the data, primary data about it.
I see. Usually, having primary data is something difficult, yeah, to
Yes.
keep usually. I see. Okay, thank you for your explanation. Anyone who wants to give a question? Okay, because there's no further question, I think we can conclude Mr. Tia presentation. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and answers. So we can move on to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next presenter is Ms. Inka with Microservices Enterprise Architecture Design. with AI-powered OCR for improving fixed broadband compliant handling, a telco company case study. You can start your presentation now.
All right. First of all, is it visible, the share screen?
Yes, your screen is visible now.
All right. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Inka Syaratuk. I'm honored to present our study titled Microservice Enterprise Architecture Design with AI-powered OCR for Improving Fixed Broadband Campaign Handling, a telco company case study. In this presentation, I will be explaining four main things that includes introduction, methodology, result, and discussion, and the last one is conclusion. All right, what is the background of our research? So in the year of 2024, based on the surveys that are conducted by UpGIS, Indonesia's internet usage has reached 221 million users, driving a demand for a reliable broadband services. Therefore, in facing this challenge, the telecom industries in Indonesia faces a really tough competition in ensuring their customer satisfaction of meeting the need in the reliable broadband. One of the biggest telco company in Indonesia use a strategy called Fixed Mobile Convergence or FMC. Through this strategy, one of the most used fixed broadband product going through some migration from the former company into their telco company. Although FMC strategy succeeded to improve the accessibility, but it also revealed inefficiencies that is response times of complaint that given to the company has exceeded the target of key performance indicators on their company. The target itself is 5 minutes, but the existing time reached 23 minutes. After a brief research that we conducted, the key cause of the inefficiencies is the optimization of system integration that made of fragmented systems and also manual processes in the complaint handling area. Therefore, this research addresses operational inefficiencies in complaint handling at this major telco company, proposing a scalable microservice-based architecture integrated with AI and optical character recognition technologies. Our goal is to improve customer satisfaction, streamline workflows, and support digital transformation in the telecommunication sector. After that, we also define the objectives into 4 points that are: the first one is to address inefficiencies caused by fragmented systems and manual workflows, and then to design a microservice-based architecture using the TOGA framework for better system integration, to enhance campaign categorization and resolution with AI and OCR technologies, and the last one is to provide a scalable, efficient solution supporting the company's digital transformation efforts. This research applies the design science research methodology consisting of 6 following steps. The first step is problem identification. We doing it by analyzing inefficiencies in existing campaign workflows and the need for the existing system to integrate with OCR and AI. After that, we also define the objectives of the solution. We establish the goals and stakeholders' requirements by performing a preliminary phase and architecture vision. After that, we also design and develop the architectures for business, information systems, and technology domains. And then we also demonstrate with developing a structured implementation roadmap so that the telco company can have a picture of how to implement the proposed architecture. We also validate the proposed architecture using the enterprise architecture benefit models. And the last one, we share the proposed architecture and gather some feedbacks from the stakeholders. Okay, the first step is the requirement analysis. To define the objective of solution, we use 2 methods in the requirement analysis. The first one, we use stakeholder map matrix. Stakeholder map matrix help us to classify the stakeholders of this research. We use the Eisenhower matrix by dividing the level of stakeholders into 3 levels that are keep satisfied, key players, and keep informed. This classification is based on the interests and the influence those stakeholders have on complaint handling workflow. Key player is the highest level of the classification. As you can see on the screen, that the complaint handling in terms of supporting agent on interaction management and also developing the system is the one who have the key players. After that, we also make a goal objective requirement diagram. Through this diagram, we can picture that the goal is the need to improve fixed broadband, which is to optimize AI capabilities for proactive solutions, enhancing agent productivity and customer experience. But the current issue is that there are still some manual processes and limited scope of existing AI. Therefore, in this diagram, we can see that the requirement is to streamline system integration through microservice approach and advance AI functionality adoption. In sum, the purpose is to optimize complaint handling by aligning the needs from stakeholders and telco company through objectives. Okay, after that, we also propose the architecture in the business domain called business architecture. As you can see in the screen, the baseline or existing business processes of complaint handling flows still relies heavily on the manual processes. The process is a little longer than the targeting. Why? Because although they're using the AI in this, like OpenAI in ICMS, the CSR or customer service representative still have to log into the knowledge management system or the other application that are connected with the AI to get the content and finding on its own, like finding them manually, and then they also have to decide the categorization manually. But with the targeting that we propose a solution to simplify and optimize the processes by integrating and improving the existing AI with adoption of technology called optical character recognition to automate the complaint categorization and solution that benefits the faster, more accurate categorization. After that, we also propose the information system architecture. As you can see, there's the baseline of information system. In the baseline, it still relies on fragmented legacy system, leading to manual processes, inefficiencies, and limited real-time data. As you can see, that they also implement the microservice approach, but the microservice is didn't improve, like didn't optimize, because the case management system and the AI is still hadn't have the good connection within the API. Because of that, we make the targeting information system architecture to improve the gaps that we found. That is, we propose a solution to implement an AI-driven microservice and automation using improved AI, using OCR technology and NLP to build up a recommendation system-based query for seamless integration and real-time data processing. And the baseline technology architecture, the biggest difference is that we implement the new technology called optical character recognition. The purpose of the optical character recognition, because in the manual processes, the CSR or customer service representative agent has to still search the documentation called SOP and the solution documentation based on manual. And we found the technology called optical character recognition that can make the PDF or PDF document in the SOP document into the text, so it can support the recommendation system in the AI. Okay, in this next one, we can see that our architecture roadmap. The architecture roadmap includes 6 initiatives phased across 4 quarters in 2025. As you can see, there are some identified gaps, and there are some of the outcome projects that can answer the identified gaps. The identified gaps like fragmented system integration, inefficiency, manual of workflows, and limited AI implementation. The key initiatives in 2025 include, to answer the identified gaps, is that development of natural language processor and OCR-based categorization system, development of AI recommendation system, modernization of API ecosystem, development of automated microservice component, and development of updated SOP. Okay, we also validate the proposed architecture using the IBM. The architecture actually scored 4.25 out of 5. Based on the stakeholder feedback that are in the organizational alignment, it scored 4.5 that effectively identifies gaps and align processes in information availability itself. It scores 4 to optimize data handling, but requires refinement in dependency mapping. So the conclusion are, with AI and the OCR, it really helps to automate case categorization and solution retrieval, removing a reliance on manual processes. And then with the microservice approach, it also enables a real-time access to structured complaint data rather than relying on efficiency API redirection. And the AI-driven recommendation also provide faster, more accurate solutions and improving customer experience. And the last one, the future enhancement, including can be refining AI models or integrating blockchain for the security. Thank you for your attention. I'm Inka Syaratu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Inka, for your presentation. What a wonderful presentation. If anyone wants to give a question to Ms. Inka, you can raise your hand. Okay, so we have two questions, I think. Okay, I will start with Ms. Danis. Okay, Ms. Danis, you can give a question.
Okay, thank you again for the opportunity. So I want to ask question to Ms. Inka. My question is, why did you choose TOGAF as the framework for designing the microservices architecture?
Right. Thank you for the question, Mrs. Danis. So because why we choose TOGAF to ensure the microservice enterprise architecture? Because TOGAF provides a structured approach to enterprise architecture, ensuring a seamless integration between business, information systems, and technology layers. And since the root of the research is caused by inefficiencies in component handling was fragmented systems, the TOGAF also helps by offering a systematic methodology to align business objectives with technology solutions. And additionally, TOGAF supports also scalability and adaptability, making it the ideal framework for a large telco company like in this research to undergoing digital transformation. That's the answer.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Ms. Inka. Ms. Danis, do you have a further question?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To the next question from Ms. Farisa, you can give a question.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Inka, for the wonderful presentation. I want to ask, according to your presentation, you choose complaint handling workflow. So I want to ask, why did you choose complaint handling workflow instead of other workflow that you can see in your research? Thank you.
All right, thank you for the question, Mrs. Farisa. So we choose the complaint handling workflows because they represent a critical pain point in the telco company operations. So basically, of course, in other companies also there are pre-sales, sales, and after sales. But based on the research, the existing complaint resolution process faces really inefficiencies that made them really hard on how to keep the customer ensure their satisfaction so that they won't move to other products. And based on the research, the existing complaint also do inefficiencies due to fragmented system integration and manual workflows. That's why we chose the workflows, because the complaint handling itself is a high frequency customer facing processes that demands quick resolution. By improving this workflow, we can significantly propose a solution to reduce response time, enhance automation, and optimize system integration, so that the telco company can have the help on how to keep the customer to be satisfied and won't move to other products. That's it.
Okay, so basically because the complaint handling workflow was the critical pain point, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question and the answer, Ms. Farisa and Ms. Inka. Okay, Ms. Farisa, do you have a further question? No?
No, that's enough.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay, thank you, Ms. Inka, for your wonderful presentation and answers. I think we can conclude your session. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Mr. Iqbal.
Okay, so I think we can conclude our parallel session in room E5 in this afternoon. So I am Iqbal Fadil as your moderator. I'm really honored to be your moderator. Thank you so much for your participation, and I think that's all for today. Thank you so much, and see you.
Thank you.
Well.